right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new edition of the Huddle. We are here live at the Rock Sports Network studios. My name is Ryan Lasal. This guy, as always, my partner, Icey Vick. This week's show, we're going to talk about the Buffalo Bills 14-7 victory over the Tennessee Titans to move to 4-1 heading into the bye week. We're going to break down the AFC Playoff picture because it is Week 5 with the bye coming up. There's nothing else to talk about, so let's muse about the playoffs with the Bills having the easiest schedule in the NFL remaining throughout the rest of the time. And we're going to leave you at the end previewing the rest of that schedule, how we think they're going to come out wins and losses. But first, our show is brought to you, as always, by Thurman's 34 Rush over at Batavia Downs, where things are happening every night with over 30 HD screens, including a 15-foot main screen, food and drink specials, and live music on select weekends. Make sure you check them out, facebook.com/Batavia Downs for everything that they have going on. If you're looking for something to do on a Sunday, go check out the games at 34 Rush. It's a great time. We did that Week 1 for the Jets, and they just have an awesome setup there. If you're looking for some place to watch UFC fights, WWE pay-per-views, any of that stuff, Thurman's 34 Rush is always a great place to go to check that out with their food and drink specials. Icey, we're going to start off here talking about the Buffalo Bills, 4-1 at the break, and they are 3 wins on the road, 1-1 at home. So more home games than not down the stretch, which is always key when it comes to a playoff push. The Bills are, again, 3-0 on the road. They finish off the Tennessee Titans 14-7 on the back of 4 Cairo Santos missed field goals, but in just a stellar defensive outing by that defense. But Josh Allen finishes 23 of 32, 219 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, which we're going to get to, is just an awful interception for him to throw. Frank Gore leads the way on the ground, 14 carries for 60 yards, no touchdowns. Allen adds 10 carries for 27 yards of his own. John Brown, 5 catches, 75 yards, stays out of the end zone, but does move to the top 15 of the receivers in the NFL for most receiving yards. So John Brown getting things done the way that he's supposed to get things done based on what he was signed to do. So, Icey, overall impression. Let's start on the offensive side of the football. What did you think overall of Josh Allen's performance on Sunday? You mentioned before the show you're a little bit more impressed than you've been over the last few weeks with his performance. I'll let you talk about that.
I mean, Josh Allen played one of his best games. Definitely the best game of the season.
Yeah.
As a passer, as a quarterback. Pro Football Focus has him ranked as passing as the 13th best quarterback this past week and 11th overall.
Yeah.
So that's a huge leap than where he's been last few games.
For sure.
So, yeah, I mean, that's above average. Average, you're looking at 15, 16-ish of qualifying quarterbacks. So he was above average.
Yeah.
And when you're above average, you win football games when you have a stout defense. My only concern with Josh Allen is that they're not really moving the ball well.
Mm-hmm.
They had 9 offensive drives where it didn't end in the end of the game or at the end of the half. So 9 offensive drives, and of those 9 offensive drives, only 3 of them were anywhere near field goal range. The one they went for 4th down and they got stuffed.
Yep.
Josh Allen got stuffed, and that was at the 30-yard line. And then the 2 touchdown drives. When you have a team, when you have a defense that is doing so well at shutting down the opposing teams, opposing offenses, giving you good field position, your return game is very good. At some point in time, you have to take advantage of this field position. You have to take advantage of what the defense is giving you. Because as of right now, this is looking a lot of reminiscent of the Tyrod Taylor-led playoff team where the defense just dominated and the offense was just
Yeah.
And they kind of puttered their way into the playoffs.
The offense did just enough to not get in the way of the
Exactly.
defense. Yeah.
And that's exactly what's happening right now. You're not going to expect this team to win scoring 14 points a game. It's just not plausible.
Yeah.
You can't expect that, and you're not going to get 4 missed field goals every game.
Right.
These games are winnable games, and these games are games that we expect the Bills to win.
Right.
And this game is a game I expected the Bills to win handily.
Yeah.
So it would have been nice to see the offense move the ball a little bit better and score some more points. 14 just it's concerning to me.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple takeaways that I had from this game that I want to talk a little bit about. First is Josh Allen's play. There was a lot of comments on Twitter and primarily circled around Drew Gear, who runs the Rock Power Report podcast, made the comment that Allen was terrible on Sunday. He made that at about halftime. And then he kind of walked his comments back a little bit and made the comment of he was okay, but he needs to be better. And him and I got into a pretty good conversation via text, and I don't disagree with the overall statement of what Drew was trying to say, in that Josh Allen, you need more out of Josh Allen, right? You can't continue to get 71% completion percentage for 220 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, or 2 touchdowns and 1 interception, and add in some running yards, because that's the exact stat line that Tyrod Taylor got ran out of town for having over the course of 2 seasons in Buffalo, right? So you can't continue to have that stat line and expect this team to continue winning football games. It's not a sustainable model.
Right.
There's a reason that guys like Tom Brady and Drew Brees and Matt Ryan and all these other guys that have success in the NFL, there's a reason that they throw consistently for 300, 400 yards. It's because that's what wins football games. Now, defense travels, right? Defense is always going to be there, and the better defense you have, the more margin of error that you have as a quarterback. You can take more chances downfield. You can throw more interceptions. You can, try things that you wouldn't have tried if your defense wasn't great, because your defense is there to back you up. But at some point, you're going to have to outscore people, because you don't win football games 0-0. You win football games by scoring more points than the other team.
Absolutely.
Now, if your defense is only giving up, 10, 12 points a game, it's not that difficult to outscore everybody. But you're going to run into teams eventually down the line that can put up points. You got Cleveland on the schedule. They can certainly put up points. I mean, they're not great right now, but they can put up points. Mm-hmm. Baltimore can put up points. Again, not a great football team right now, but we've seen them put up points, right? You got Philly on the schedule, Dallas on the schedule. Those teams can put up points. You got another meeting with New England. You've got, the New York Jets. Who knows what they're going to look like, come, week 15, 16, 17 down the stretch. Maybe they're fighting for, either a playoff position or some type of seeding, pride, whatever they're going to fight for. Then you're going to get into the playoffs, because this team right now has a 71% chance of making the playoffs, according to 538, the Bills. And once you get to the playoffs, you're going to run into the Kansas City Chiefs, maybe the Los Angeles Chargers, again, maybe the New England Patriots, maybe the Houston Texans. These teams could put up points. And, a lot of times defense travels, and they've done a good job. They did a good job against New England in their one true test against the top-flight offense, and they did okay. But can you do that if you're a wild card team? Can you do that 3 times to get into the Super Bowl when your opponents are Houston, Kansas City, and then New England?
Right.
Can you stop those 3 offenses that can put up 50 points in the blink of an eye, and then get to the Super Bowl where you might have to face Philly, Dallas, the Rams, the Seahawks, who are putting up points, the Saints? I mean, these are teams that you're going to have to, again, beat. You need more from Josh Allen. Now, what Josh Allen was last year to this year is night and day. He's nowhere close to the quarterback he was last year. He's already on pace to just obliterate all of his stat lines from last year. He's on pace right now to have 10% higher completion percentage from last year to this year. He's averaging 50 yards a game more through the air than he did last year. So he's already a better quarterback, right? I don't think there's any denying that that's a better quarterback. The question is how much better is he going to get? And at what point do you consider him leveled out to where you need to legitimately evaluate, is this a guy that we can go forward with, right? I don't think that time's now, because he's getting better. And this week's game I thought was the best game he's played, if not in his career, definitely this season, right? He took underneath routes. He slid when he got out of the pocket. He threw balls away instead of taking sacks. Yeah, he awkwardly slid, but he slid, right? I mean, we saw Russell Wilson take a real awkward slide on Sunday. He threw the ball out of bounds rather than taking a sack and trying to play hero ball. He had one really, really bad throw, and it turned into an interception, and it turned into points. And that can't happen. And but unfortunately, it's going to come with the plays that he tries to make. I don't know if that's ever going to go away. I don't know if that one bad play a game is ever going to go away. You just hope that it comes in better scenarios where it's not going to kill you. An interception, when you're on the 45-yard line and you take a shot downfield and it gets intercepted at the opponent's end, right? I mean, that's not going to kill you. That's a punt, right? But what you can't do is turn the ball over in your territory, and you can't turn the ball over when it's a tie game or a one-possession game. You can't do that. You can't do it throwing to a guy in T.J. Yeldon who, I mean, let's be honest, he's the 6th option in this offense.
Right.
Like you can't force balls to your 6th option. You got to force balls if you're going to force them. John Brown, Dawson Knox, those kinds of guys are the ones that you need to be forcing the ball to.
Right.
So overall, I mean, I think Josh Allen is getting better. I'm certainly a believer in Josh Allen. I think he's going to get to that point where he's got to find a middle ground. I want to see a middle ground of between this game and the Giants' first half.
Right.
Like, if he can somehow meld those two performances, he's going to complete, again, 65% of his passes. He's going to throw for 300 yards. He's going to have a couple of touchdowns, and it's going to come with an interception, maybe 2 interceptions every other game kind of thing. I can live with that as a team, because if you're throwing for 300 yards, you're putting up points, right? And that's the big thing in the NFL. The other point that I had from this game, not to digress too much, but I'll get your thoughts on it. The Bills, one of the things that we've knocked McDermott on is his clock management, right? We talked about it last week. We talked about it ad nauseum over the last couple of seasons with McDermott. He's not been good at salvaging his timeouts or, maintaining the clock. He gets an opportunity on Sunday where they get the ball back. It was off a missed field goal. They get the ball back at their own 30-yard line. All 3 timeouts left, 44 seconds left on the clock. Right? So you need to go, let's talk about Steven Hauschka. You realistically need to go 40 yards, right, to get to the other 30-yard line, and you're kicking a 47-yard field goal when the half expires.
Right.
So 40 yards in 44 seconds with 3 timeouts.
Yeah.
They throw a screen pass to Isaiah McKenzie. It gets sniffed out, and they tackle it, and they run it out.
That's it.
And that was the end of the half.
Yeah.
So I guess the question that I have is how, if you're going to save your timeouts, how do you not then use them, right, to try to get downfield?
Yeah.
To try to get into scoring range.
Isn't it the purpose, right?
Right, because otherwise what are you saving them for?
Right.
So McDermott has bled timeouts in the past where we criticized him for bleeding timeouts, and then he saves the timeouts, gets a prime example of why you save your timeouts, because not only do you kick the field goal, you're getting the ball at after halftime, right? So you have an opportunity to go up 2 scores and get the ball back.
Right.
And you throw a screen pass and then let the clock run out and never use a single timeout.
Is this one of those things where you're just the coach doesn't have the trust or the faith in the offense? They don't have the trust and faith that Josh Allen's not going to make a terrible decision with the ball, throw the ball away, fumble the ball. They're better off just, we'll take the 7-point lead and go into the halftime and see what we can do. We're getting the ball back anyway.
Yeah.
It's
entirely possible. It is entirely
aggressive.
possible, right? And some of the criticism has been over the last week or so is Brian Daboll allowing Josh Allen to do enough? I think there's a legitimate question there. Is Daboll – I thought he called a fine game. I thought there were a couple of questionable calls. But ultimately I thought Daboll did a good enough job, to put more points on the board than 14. But if you don't have that faith as a head coach, it's not Brian Daboll's decision as to whether to push the ball downfield with 44 seconds left and try to get points, right?
Yeah.
That's McDermott's call.
Yeah.
So if McDermott doesn't have that faith, that's a good point. Maybe he just doesn't think that Josh Allen is going to make the right decision with the ball, and it's not going to turn into an interception. And now the Tennessee Titans had 2 timeouts at the time, and now they turned it into points.
Yeah.
So it's entirely possible. I think that could be, but that's something that has to improve, right? You have to have the confidence in the quarterback, because if you don't have your confidence in your young quarterback, you're not going to let him take those shots downfield, and that's where Allen excels, is his ability to drive the ball downfield with that strong arm and put up deep balls. So you've got to eventually develop that, because otherwise you're going to start hurting his development, because he's going to start losing faith in his own abilities if you as a coach don't have that faith in him. So I think that's a good point too. So we're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we're going to start talking AFC playoff picture. The Bills sitting at 4-1, currently in the first wild card spot. Third best record in the AFC. So make sure you stick with us on the other side. If you're watching on Facebook, leave your comments and questions in the chat. We'll get to them this segment. Thanks very much for joining us, and make sure you stick with us. We'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Henry, and I want to welcome you to Batavia Downs Gaming. We want you to love it, not just like it here. We went to our customers and asked them what we can do better. You said you wanted a hotel, so we built one. More and better food, we did that too. A separate place to smoke and play, we even did that. Batavia Downs Gaming and Hotel is the right size with the right people in the right location. Batavia Downs Gaming. Come here to dine, stay, and play.
Bill Gray's Burgers and Fish Fries are Rochester's choice because of this, and this, a lot of these, and mostly that.
Gimme Bill Grade.
Hi, I'm Zach Ralph. We've been selling cars for more than 80 years. We're family-owned, family-run, 3 generations strong.
Come see the 2020 Hondas. There's something for every lifestyle.
Whatever you're looking for in your next car, you'll find it at Ralph Honda.
When I sprained my left knee, they did so much to help me at
Lattimore Physical Therapy.
With 20 locations throughout Monroe and Livingston County, pain relief is never more than minutes away. Same-day appointments available. Most insurance accepted. Call 1-888-PT-ROCHS.
Lattimore Physical Therapy.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Huddle here live from the Rock Sports Network studios. My name is Ryan Lasal. This guy is Icey Vick. Make sure you give us a follow on social media. I am at Ryan Lasal _RSN, and he is at Icey Vick _RSN. Also, make sure you give him a follow on Instagram at Icey Vick. Our show is brought to you in part by Lattimore Physical Therapy and Sports Rehab. Lattimore offers 25 clinics throughout the Rochester area, including nearby locations in North Chili and Gates. More than 50 certified physical therapists have experience in treating most conditions and sports injuries, and in most cases are able to offer initial consultations within 24 hours for your convenience. Make sure you check them out, LattimorePT.com. Icey, let's move into playoff talk. We're going to talk playoffs. Before we get to that, there's a little bit of a conversation going on in our Facebook chat between you and one of the friends of the show, Mario Granata, one of the hosts of the Hashtag Sports. I call it the Sunday Drive all the time. He gives me a hard time about it because they do a ton of stuff throughout the course of the week.
Right.
But the Hashtag Sports Show, make sure you give them a follow on YouTube. They got a ton of great content going on. Mario makes the comment that 4 quarterbacks on Sunday threw for 300 yards and lost as a counterpoint to Josh Allen, needing to throw for more yards and being more efficient with the football. And your response was, not all those quarterbacks have the number 2 ranked defense.
No.
And if Josh Allen plays better, I think you got a little hyperbolic with your comment. If Josh Allen throws for 400 yards, they blow him out. And, Mario rightly responded, 400, that's not a big deal, right? But, but overall, I think the point stands that just because you throw for a ton of yards doesn't mean you're necessarily going to win the football game. But you were talking more along the lines of the combination of the quarterback performance and the defense you've already got and
Absolutely.
you're going to have is what's going to lead you to wins.
I mean, you have Minshew throwing for 374 yards this week.
Yeah.
And he's a rookie. He's a rookie that wasn't an unheralded rookie. No one knew who he was coming out. He was a 6th-round draft choice.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's an impossible feat
Yeah.
to throw for 300 yards, and Josh Allen's yet to do it.
Yeah.
It's not impossible to throw for 400 yards, Mario. I mean, the
It's not impossible. No, it doesn't happen a lot,
I mean,
but yeah.
It happens enough. You think about this.
I mean, Dak threw for, what did he throw for? Did he throw for 400 this week? It was close.
Yeah,
I knew he
it
threw
was
for a ton
close.
of yards, yeah.
A guy that's not considered a great quarterback, a great passer, and Cam Newton, his first 2 games as a rookie, threw for 400 yards. So it's not like it's impossible to do. He's got all the physical ability, the arm talent to do that.
Yeah.
He's just got to throw the ball, and he's got to throw the ball accurately, and he's got to throw the ball down the field a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, what's the purpose of having a guy that can throw over the moon if you're gonna check down every time?
Right.
And I understand that you have to take what the defense gives you. I'm not saying that he has to throw deep and it's got to be an air raid vertical attack. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that if they convert more of their third downs, they convert a higher percentage of passes. I mean, he completed 70% of his passes, over 70% of his passes.
Yeah.
But it was for a pedestrian 6.9 yards per attempt.
Yeah.
That's very average, wildly average, especially with a high completion percentage. So that means there's a lot of checkdowns, and you're taking what the defense is giving you, but at some point you have to be able to move the ball down the field. You move the ball down the field, you score points. Even if you get in field goal range, you have one of the best kickers in the NFL that can get you points.
Right.
Again, if they had a kicker, the Titans had a kicker, we lose that game.
So I think with Josh Allen taking what the defense gives him, do you think, and this is a conversation that I had with a couple of guys on Twitter over the weekend, the question is that why didn't Josh Allen take shots over the top? Was it because the safeties were playing way off? And I think the point that I tried to make was I think that him starting to take these underneath balls a little bit more frequently, I think is going to draw the safeties in a little bit, because right now they have no respect for the check down game, because that hasn't been Allen's game throughout his entire career.
Yeah.
Well, now all of a sudden, if you're completing passes to Frank Gore and to T.J. Yeldon, Devin Singletary when he comes back, those little 1-yard throws just in the middle that turn into 8-9-yard gains. Eventually, you're going to have to start respecting that. Get the safeties to creep up a little bit. I think if you get a little bit more dynamic in the run game, Frank Gore's been great. But if you get a guy like Devin Singletary who has the opportunity to break one and run away from people, maybe not run away, but stay away from people once he's away from them, right? Again, brings the safeties up. You start working the middle of the field. Cole Beasley, Dawson Knox actually hangs on to a couple footballs. I think that opens up that ability to go downfield. So overall, I think that's the case. And I think the point that you're trying to make is you do have to take shots downfield. He hasn't completed a ball that traveled 20 yards or more in the air all season, which was one of his high points last year, was that ability to throw the ball downfield. Do you think that the addition of Duke Williams, and I'm not going to beat this to death because Bill's Twitter has already beaten it to death, do you think the addition of a receiver like Duke Williams, do you think that helps Josh Allen push the ball downfield? Because he's got that possession-type receiver now. Cole Beasley's great in the slot, but he's got that possession, that, mistake eraser on the opposite side of John Brown. Does that open up John Brown to then try to take the top off of defense when you have that big body guy on the other side like Duke Williams?
It has to be seen. Yet be seen.
Yeah.
Duke Williams is a big body guy. He's a big, strong guy. He can jump up over guys. The fact that I'm more concerned about why it took them so long to make this move.
Yeah.
Well, I don't understand why he was on the practice squad. It blows my mind that he went unclaimed off waivers.
Right.
So, I don't understand why it took 5 weeks to make this move. Zay Jones has been abysmal. He hasn't produced the whole time he's been here. Why haven't you made this move? Why did it take so long to make this move? Now that you have that guy, obviously Josh Allen has trust in him.
Yeah.
He went to him in big situations, and he was able to move the chains. I think it takes a little bit of pressure off John Brown, but they're not going to respect Duke Williams until Duke Williams does something.
Right.
And one game and a couple decent plays in one game is not going to be enough to sway the hearts and minds of the defenses across the NFL.
Well, yeah, and let's not get it twisted, right? Duke Williams had a good game, but he had 4 catches for 20-something yards and a touchdown, right?
Yeah.
And he caught a slant route that any receiver in the NFL should probably catch and take into the end zone. So, the jury's out on Duke Williams. His value is going to be seen in the red zone, like they went to him in the red zone on Sunday.
Right.
Consistently, if he becomes a red zone target, he's going to get more opportunities downfield, I think, because, again, he's that go-up-and-get-it kind of receiver that I've been wanting in Buffalo for quite some time. And I agree, it took him a little longer. I thought he should have made the roster right out of training camp. He didn't have a great camp, but he did play he did play well in the preseason games.
Yeah.
And Mario makes a good point on Facebook as well. Foster being inactive hurts the deep game, but I think that furthers the point of why did it take so long to get Duke Williams up. If Robert Foster has been inactive, I think, almost every game this season. So what took you so long if you've got a receiver inactive? A, why carry him? Or B, why not go get a receiver that you're actually going to make active? Because if you want to be a team that's legitimately scary in the NFL, you need weapons on the outside. And that's where Duke Williams, I think, is going to help this team a little bit. We saw it a little bit on Sunday. Hopefully we see it more going forward. But let's get into the AFC playoff picture. So the Bills currently sitting at 4-1 in that 5th seed. As of right now, if the season ended today, they'd be playing the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore, as the Ravens would be the winners of the South. Of course, the cream of the AFC, as always, the New England Patriots. Kansas City Chiefs sitting at 1 and 2, respectively, in the standings. Surprisingly, the Raiders are the 6th seed if the season ended right now. Now it's only 5 games in, so it's still early, but you mentioned in the break, Icey, the Raiders have looked pretty good. They look like a competent football team. Imagine what they'd look like with Khalil Mack and Antonio Brown.
Right.
But still, a team that could potentially be scary. That AFC West isn't great outside of Kansas City. And then the 3rd seed right now is the Houston Texans, and I think the Texans are arguably the 3rd best team in the AFC. I think it's between them and Buffalo. I think Buffalo would be a good matchup for them because their offensive type of play is downfield throws and to the receivers, and that's where Buffalo's defense excels. They don't have a great running game, and if Buffalo can only rush 4, not concerned too much about the running game, I think that's a team that Buffalo certainly can beat.
Absolutely.
In the hunt right now, Indianapolis Colts, Cleveland Browns, LA Chargers, Jacksonville Jaguars, Tennessee Titans, Broncos, Steelers, Jets, Dolphins, Bengals. So the Bills have already beaten the Titans. They have already beaten the Jets, Bengals. They play the Steelers. They play. I believe do they play the Broncos this year? I haven't looked firmly at the schedule. but no, they don't. They do play the Broncos. They play the Broncos on the 24th of November. So the Browns, they play the Browns, they play the Ravens. So they're playing a lot of these teams that it's going to come down to tiebreakers, right? And when it comes to tiebreakers, you and I talked about it preseason. We talked about it the first week that we did the show. The Bills' goal this year needs to be, when you talk about the AFC playoff picture, you've got here's the seedings right now, and then there's the in the hunt. You don't want to be the in the hunt team, right? You want to be a team where it's win the games in front of you and you're going to make the playoffs. Absolutely. It's too long that we've been, as fans, looking at that graphic going, okay, I feel like I'm taking, like AP, statistics, trying to figure out what the Bills need, what needs to happen for the Bills to get in the playoffs. It's like, okay, the Bills need to win, the Bengals need to lose, the Ravens need to tie, the Chargers need to somehow, implode and lose by, 15 points. But you can't, you can't continually hope to back into the playoffs, right? And the Bills backed into the playoffs 2 years ago. It was great. It ended the drought. It was a dramatic moment. But you want to be the Chiefs. You want to be the Patriots. You want to be those teams where it's weeks 14 and 15. It's like, yeah, we probably can beat the Dolphins without, Quentin Spain. Let's give him a rest week. You want to go into week 17 having already clinched that wild card spot, and it's, we can rest our starters, right? I mean, that's the type of scenario that you want to be in come weeks 15, 16, and 17. A long way to get there is to beat the Browns, right? Beat the Steelers. Beat the teams that are going to be there at the end chasing you, because now they not only need to win their games, they need to win enough games to have a better record than you, because if they have the same record, you're going to win the tiebreaker. Right. And those tiebreakers come in so critical. So, Icey, out of the teams that are in the hunt right now, and you talk about, again, we'll talk about the Raiders, because Raiders and Chargers are essentially 1-2 in the West. You talk about the Browns and Ravens that are 1-2 in the North. And then you've got the Raiders and the Chargers are 2-3 in the West. And then you've got the South, which is just kind of a hodgepodge of teams, right? Right now it's the Texans, Colts, Titans, and Texans, Colts, and Titans that are all kind of in that mix. Any teams on this schedule that worry you that might sneak in and maybe take away a wild card spot from you?
I mean, the Colts have been playing well. Jacoby Brissett's been quite impressive, actually. Yeah. And then you got the Raiders. So, I mean, you got a couple teams right there that could potentially sneak in.
And those are two teams that you don't play, so you don't have that head-to-head.
But as far as the people that we do play, who are you looking at? I mean, Browns got dismantled last night. That's a team that you looked at some point saying, you know what, that was very good on paper, but it just hasn't materialized.
That offensive line has looked awful.
Terrible, yeah.
And it doesn't seem like they know. It doesn't seem like Freddie Kitchens knows what to do with Baker.
Right.
I mean, if they continue to not run the football consistently like they have with Nick Chubb in spots, if they continue to not run the football, that's going to be a team that's not going to win many more football games. Because I just don't think they're that good up front where they can keep Baker clean and let him make the throws he needs to make, because he's too short to see over the offensive line. Yep. So,
I mean, you're looking at this, you're not really worried about the Steelers. Just going down. Dolphins, that should be an easy win. The Eagles aren't that great, but you're not really worried about them in the NFC. The Redskins, you're not worried about them. Browns are terrible. Dolphins, again, terrible. Broncos, terrible. Cowboys, not worried about them. Ravens will clinch their division, most likely. Steelers, you're not really worried about. Patriots, if you can take care of business with them, you can win your division. And then the Jets again. This schedule is very winnable. Yeah. And there's nobody on the schedule. You're looking at like, man, all these games are winnable. Well, this is a team that only lost to the Patriots by 6 points.
Right.
And the Patriots are the best team in the NFL. Are they not?
And the team, the Patriots are, I think, the only team in the NFL this season that's had double-digit spreads in every game.
Right.
And again, the Bills beat them by 6 points, or lost to them by 6 points. And, again, it was a blocked punt that made the difference. Yeah. And then Josh Allen leaves with 11 minutes left in the fourth quarter. It's an entirely different football game. Yeah. If he finishes that game or if there's not that blocked punt, it's a completely different football game. We're going to go ahead and take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about the remaining schedule, how we think the Bills are going to do. Before we do that, we do want to throw a shout-out to another one of our sponsors, Bob Johnson Chevrolet. Bob Johnson's goal is to give you the best deal on the best new or used vehicle possible. If you're not sure what you're looking for in a new car, truck, or SUV, Make sure you stop by and talk with their expert sales team, and they're going to help you figure out which vehicle meets your needs and requirements best. Bob Johnson Chevrolet, Ridge Road West in Greece. And we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk the Bills' remaining 11 games on their schedule, so make sure you stick with us on the other side.
You'll get more for your money. You'll get much greater value. You talk to kind, courteous people who really care. They're so sincere. I recommend them to my family. I recommend them to my friends. They've gone way above and beyond my great expectations. It's Bob Johnson Chevrolet. Bob Johnson Chevrolet. Bob Johnson Chevrolet.
The Bill Gray's Chai Light Tap Room, now open.
Gimme Bill Gray's.
Daddy had surgery and his pain was put to ease.
Lattimore Physical Therapy.
Hi, I'm Zach Ralph. We've been selling cars for more than 80 years. We're family owned, family run, 3 generations strong.
Come see the 2020 Hondas. There's something for every lifestyle.
Whatever you're looking for in your next car, you'll find it at Ralph Honda.
Only $7.99 for a Bill Gray's Great Plate every Tuesday.
All right, we are back here at the Rock Sports Network studios live for the Huddle. My name is Ryan Lasal. He's Icey Vick. Our sponsor this week is Bill Gray's Restaurants. Every Tuesday is Great Plate Tuesday at Bill Gray's, $7.99 for 2 Bill Gray's cheeseburgers on top of home fries and mac salad, loaded with your choice of toppings, including Bill Gray's famous meat hot sauce. Great Plate Tuesday is every Tuesday, which is today. Gimme, 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 Bill Gray's. So, Icey, let's take a look at the remaining schedule here for the Buffalo Bills. They come out of the bye week with hosting the Miami Dolphins. They then play host to the Philadelphia Eagles. They then go on the road to they are home against the Dolphins, home against the Eagles, home against the Redskins before going on the road to the Cleveland Browns. So let's take this in 4-game chunks, Icey. So again, Dolphins home, Eagles home, Redskins home, Browns away. What do you have their record at coming out of that 4-game stretch?
4-0.
So you've got them, I'm assuming the tight game that you're maybe iffy on is that Eagles game.
Oh, absolutely.
But you give them the nod because they're at home.
They're at home, yeah. I mean, the Buffalo Bills are going to feed off of that. We have great fans.
And sorry to interrupt you, but I mean, you heard how loud it was for the New England game.
Yeah.
Coming out of the bye week, you beat Miami. I think you pencil that in. The Bills are going to be double-digit favorites coming into this game. If it's not, I don't know that they're going to win by 2 touchdowns, but if they're not 2-touchdown favorites, I think it's probably going to be criminal for Vegas. How loud that stadium's going to be for a team like Philadelphia coming in.
Absolutely, and it's probably going to be a little brisk there.
Yeah,
at end of October, the Bills are used to this. This is going to be the stadium's going to be rocking.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. So then again, going to Cleveland, a game that the Bills again should win. I mean, a lot of these games I think they should win. I mean, I've got them at 4-0 as well. The only game, honestly, that I'm a little iffy about is that Cleveland game because I'm not sure we know what Cleveland is yet. I mean, they're not a great football team, but I don't know if they're a bad football team yet. I mean, it's really weird. They're like a Jekyll and Hyde kind of team.
But the Bills could do that. We know their kryptonite, and their kryptonite is that offensive line. You talked about it earlier. Yeah, that offensive line is horrid. And if you get Baker Mayfield scrambling around, and you get people by his feet, he's zigzagging in that pocket. He's prone to make mistakes. He's only a second-year quarterback, and you saw some of the mistakes he made yesterday. Last night. So if you get, when we have the defense to do this, and we have the defense to send 4 or 5 guys and put constant pressure on them, if you send a couple blitzers and come with 6, you have the guys in the back end of that defense that can hold up against guys like Odell and Jarvis Landry. You take them out of the equation, and you again keep people around Duke Johnson's feet, Baker Mayfield's feet. It's a very winnable game. We have the recipe to demolish and dismantle that team.
Yeah. So we come out of that 4-game stretch. So we both have the Bills coming out of that stretch at 8-1, which would just be, just an unbelievable start to a Bills season. And those of you who are on Facebook, again, make sure you throw your comments in the chat as well. Let us know how you think the Bills are going to do during these 4-game stretches. The next 4-game stretch I think might be the most difficult stretch throughout the remainder of the season. Again, starting off with the Dolphins, which put that one down in ink if you want to. The Dolphins will be by that time 8-0 on their quest to tank. So they'll they want to lose every game. I think they'll be well on their way by that point in time. Then they play host to the Broncos. They travel to Dallas for Thanksgiving, which is always those Thanksgiving games are always up in the air, right? You never know who's going to show up. It's kind of like it's not a Thursday night game, but it's a Thursday day game, and guys are getting ready to get out and go eat turkey and stuff like that. Those games are always wonky. So it'll be interesting to see the Bills play on Thanksgiving. And then the Bills play host to the Baltimore Ravens. So I see, again, another 4-game stretch. Where do you have their record sitting at for that 4-game stretch?
Well, I want to say 3-1. But I'm gonna be on the realistic side and say 2-2. I think they're going to take care of business again and pencil it in. And Dolphins, Broncos, 2 terrible teams. I think 1 win combined between the 2 of them. And then the Cowboys, that's probably going to be their next loss.
Okay.
But and they have the Ravens at home. I can see them beating the Ravens because this is a run-based team, and the Bills' defense can shut down their wide receivers and make Lamar Jackson be a quarterback and just shut down the running game if they chose to. But again, that's a game that I can see them slipping on. So I'm going to go 2-2. It's just not plausible to me that they're just going to go through and run through everybody.
So I think, so if you've got them at winning those first 2 games of that stretch, that puts them at 10-1.
Yeah.
They go in and they lose potentially to the Dallas Cowboys. I could see a letdown game against that Baltimore Ravens team. You're sitting at 10-2, things are looking great. Maybe the Patriots have dropped a game by that point in time, right? And you're looking at it going, okay, so we're 10-2, they're 11-1. We've got a matchup coming up in 2 weeks against the Patriots in New England, potentially for the division title, potentially for that number 1, number 2 seed in the playoffs. I can see that being a letdown game.
Yeah.
You're looking ahead to the Steelers, you're looking ahead to the Patriots, and you're looking ahead to the Jets to try to close out the season, get to the playoffs. The jitters start to set in. You start thinking about the playoffs a little bit more than some of these seasoned teams. I definitely could see them losing to the Ravens. I've got them at 3-1 during this stretch. I do think they're going to lose to Dallas. And again, that's right now. They're a Zeke injury, a Dak Prescott injury away from Michael Gallup injury flare up again from being a team that I think is extremely beatable. The defense, I think, plays well against what the Dallas Cowboys do, which is run the ball. The defense does a pretty good job. Again, it's going to be one of those games similar to the New York Giants game where give Zeke what Zeke's going to do. You try to contain him as best you can, but you kind of say, okay, if he's going to run for 125 yards and a touchdown, that's fine, but we need to do the rest around everybody else. It's just tough. There's a lot of weapons there, right? I mean, they've got Amari Cooper. They've got Michael Gallup. They've got Tony Pollard out of the backfield. They've got Jason Witten, who's just like the ageless wonder at the tight end position. And Dak Prescott's a guy that can beat you 1 or 2 ways, and it depends on what Dak shows up. Yeah. So, and I think the familiarity for the Cowboys of playing on Thanksgiving, I think, is understated. Yeah. That's a game every year they're playing on that day. They know how to prepare. They know how to do it. Thursdays are always tough games for the Bills to travel from New York to Dallas. So I think that's a game that I think Bills fans would be okay losing that game to the Dallas Cowboys. Again, it doesn't hurt you in the playoff picture. It's a game. So I've got them at 3-1. I think if they do lose to the Cowboys, I don't think there's a way that they come home and then lose to the Ravens as well. So I've got them at 3-1 at that stretch. So you've got them at 2-2. So you've got them at 10-3 by that turn point. I've got them at 11-2. Coming into the final 3-game stretch, which opens in Pittsburgh against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They then travel to New England, back-to-back road games, before coming home to close things out Week 17 on December 29th against the New York Jets. So that final 3-game stretch, where do you have them finishing?
No, they're going to go 2-1 there. I think the game they're probably going to lose, Patriots at home, obviously. Tom Brady is amazing in Foxborough. The Steelers, Mason Rudolph is there all season, right? So
now he's out. I mean, he took that blow to the head on Sunday.
But he'll be back.
I don't know, man. That was
he was not.
That was not a Josh
right.
Allen concussion, right? I mean, that's a couple weeks away from coming back.
Well,
so I mean, he might be back by that point.
December 15th.
Week 15. Yeah, week 15.
So you're looking at that Mason Rudolph. It doesn't matter, regardless of who it is. Not Ben Roethlisberger, right?
Yeah.
This is a totally different team without Ben Roethlisberger. The offense has been kind of bad without him.
James Conner's been disappointing. Juju Smith's been disappointing. Yeah.
Moncrief is non-existent. It's been a bad team without Ben Roethlisberger on offense. The defense is going to do what the defense is, but the defense is still a shell of itself as it's been over the past few years.
Right.
So yeah, I definitely have them going 2-1 there,
Okay.
and I just don't see them beating the Patriots there again, especially at Foxborough.
So you've got them at 12-4 on the season, finishing things 12-4. A 12-win wild card team, which does happen. It does happen. 13-win wild card teams typically don't happen. So I think your record kind of fits right in there. It's difficult for me because I try to be the fan that kind of tempers expectations, right? I feel like this is the type of season where if the Bills wind up beating the Steelers, in my scenario, they're 11-2. They're going, or I'm sorry, 12-2. They're going to New England. Might wind up being a flex game, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it
if both, I mean, it's open for a flex, but it might wind up a night game, right? It might turn into one of those night games. I really think this is the type of team that they could come into Foxborough and they could, just shut Tom Brady down like they did against Buffalo, or did in Buffalo. And by then, the offense is clicking on all cylinders, and they can go out and win by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the type of team that this Bills team is. It's just I can't pick them to win that game because they've never won that game, and I don't think they're going to – I'm not going to believe that they can win that kind of football game until they do it. Right? Just like when I talked to the Patriots game when we were at home, I was sitting next to my parents, and we were talking, and my father leans over – right when Barkley took over and they were going to try to drive downfield to win the game. My father leans over and he goes, this feels different this time around. And I looked at him and I go, this isn't going to be different until they do it, right? And it's the same thing. You go into Foxborough week 16, and you've got to win that game to win the division. That's the game that the Patriots have played for, the last, 24 years of Tom Brady. It feels like 24 years, right? That's the game they play all the time, week 16, win the football game, win the division, rest your guys week 17 into the playoffs and be done with it. I can't pick them to win that game until they do it. So I got them going 2-1 as well. So I've actually got them finishing as a rare 13-3 wild card team because if the Patriots beat them twice, you've got to hope that the Patriots lose somewhere. Two to
They're
three
playing
games
the same
somewhere.
schedule the Bills are playing.
Right.
So.
With the exception of they get the Chiefs at some point this season, I think, and I think they get the maybe the Texans at some point this year for the Patriots as well. So yeah, so I mean I think it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to run the table. To your point, I don't think there's any team on that schedule that scares me other than the Patriots.
Right.
I think every team on this schedule is completely beatable. It would not surprise me one bit if the Bills run the table and they go into New England with 1 loss. It also wouldn't surprise me if they wind up dropping a few games that they're supposed to win because the offense doesn't play well, and they go into New England fighting for that playoff spot. Right? They're in the 6th seed fighting to win the next 2 games that we're definitely in, lose, and we might need some help kind of scenario. So we're gonna see. I mean, it's gonna be an exciting season. So we're 5 games in. Bills are sitting at 4-1. They've got 6 home games remaining, 5 games on the road. 3 home games to open up after they come back from the bye week, which is next week. So Bills fans, use this next week, the bye week, to catch your breath, regain your composure, spend times with your families on Sundays, because when the Bills come back from the bye week, it's going to be breakneck pace until the end of the season, because this is the first time that the Bills are legitimately the inside track to make the playoffs in quite some time. So we're going to see if the Bills can get things done. We appreciate you sticking with us throughout this show. Make sure you tune in every Tuesday at 5 p.m. on Facebook. Give us a follow at Rock Sports Network on our Facebook page so you get notified when we go live every Tuesday. Also, for Gary behind the camera, we appreciate the hard work that he puts in, making sure that this show is somewhat high quality production and somewhat entertaining to all of you who tune in and join us. We appreciate those of you who joined us in the chat. Thanks very much for everyone for watching. We'll be back next week, as we always are, Tuesdays at 5 p.m. So, Icey, there's no game this week, but why not, right? Go Bills.
Go Bills.